Let's do this. Guys, welcome to a build overview video for the Static Orb Meteor Glacier Sorcerer that I played this league. The original build idea comes from but he has asked to not get linked because people are like messaging him with questions and stuff and getting overwhelmed and he just wants to play, so just shout out to him. And then Snap took over and started cooking it for a group setup. But as it turns out, with most builds with Last Epoch, they just work solo. You just maybe want to build a little more shred, or you want to cap your resistances alone or whatever, or some crits so you're not relying on supports. But this build works flawlessly in solo as well. I'll go over my character and then maybe put some footage after of some high corruption, monolith, some boss, something. So here we go. Let's start with the passives. You get some ink damage, some teleport, CDR, because teleport is important, and some crit and crit multi. And then sorcerer tree, you get the arcane momentum, you get some mana, lots of mana. This is a mana stacker, important, you will see why. We get some ward gain per mana here, and then here the important one is crit. Sorry, no, this is the important one. The spark charges. This procs constantly on every hit. So if you cast a glacier, meteors start coming down because the glacier is proccing the spark charges, and the spark charges are proccing the meteors from the belt, Harbinger of Stars. As you can see, I casted a single glacier and the meteors is still going on. The only reason it stopped is because I ran out of mana while I was talking. So this is huge. There's a 100% chance to get spark charges with 4 points, and then GG. And then you get Archmage, some flat spell damage, and the refund mana cost. And then last points are in Rune Master, more mana, Int, DR, this is very nice, less damage taken, Runework Cataclysm for more crit, and then Never Late. This passive is currently bugged. This is giving you this crit all the time, not just for one cast, but this worked like that last league as well, and then they said they fixed it, but they didn't. So if this gets fixed, then all you do is you replace this offhand to Crystal Skull base for 6 flat crits, and then you need to get a Peak of the Mountain with increased crit for your Helm slot, and then you're basically crit capped. And then last points are this crit multi with a wand. So that's the tree. Let's take a look at the skills. We go Meteor, and number of meteors, frequency, this for mana efficiency, you need max points in this, and then Stardust. This is what makes it so that when you get other types of damage, like non-fire damage, this is a massive multiplier for all of that, and you'll see we're using necrotic damage mostly. And then your last points are Infernal Descent. So if you have less points in Meteor, this is where you take points from. I have 2 extra points here. Focus, this is how you get your mana. Null Profusion, this node, if you go down to negative mana, you tap it, and you get a bunch of mana back. So let me just go down to 0 mana here, or negative. If I'm negative, I tap my focus. Look, I get 1,000 mana back like instantly. Okay, and the meteors are just proccing. I can't stop casting meteors. Stop. Can we? Anyway, so yeah, that's focus. You get some ward from it too, some ward retention, and then mana gained, you get ward. So you just get some more ward when you're channeling this. Static Orb. This is the single target damage of the build. I'm missing a point here for some reason. That this point should be maxed. Let me be right back quickly, guys. So, static, this is your huge damage node, mana charged. You spend a percent of your mana every cast, 20% of your mana instead of the flat mana cost, and you do a fuck ton of damage per mana, per max mana you have. So this is why you mana stack. This is the node. Other than that, you get the Scatter Blast, so it becomes like 5 orbs instead. And then you get 100 crit multi here, and you get the Storm Burst node. So you can't like shoot it really far. It basically becomes almost like a melee build. You have to shoot it pretty close to you. Next up, Flame Ward. It's just a defensive button. It's an oh shit button. It auto procs when you get stunned, which if you're spec'd into teleport, which I'm currently not, you can get stun immune with teleport, but this is nice. It just procs when it gets stunned. This one to get +1 charges. And then get DR here, extra minus elemental damage taken, duration. And that's your shield. You have two charges of these. And then finally Glacier. So this is the node that you want Glacial for. percent of maximum mana gained for Glacier crits. So this is why you're going up in mana when you're Glacier nuking into big packs. So you see, if I just cast one Glacier and I start blasting meteors from my belt, I go down in mana. And then I can't cast anything because I'm just out of mana. But if you spam cast Glaciers and the mobs are actually dying, the Glacier hits are gonna like sustain your mana. After a certain point, I would say about 1.7 and 1.8k mana is the earliest I would switch to this version, the Glacier version. If you don't have that much mana, so you're starting up this build and you have like 1k mana, 1.2k, I would not play this Glacier. I would only switch to this in the very end game, like high gear scenario. If you do that, then you spec into Teleport instead of Glacier, and you can get stun immunity and other stuff, and then you just hard cast Meteor instead. Because the Meteors will still proc the Spark Charges, and then the Spark Charges will proc even more Meteors from the belt. So that's the other version before you can get the Glacier version up and running. So that's the skills. Let's take a look at the gear. I have insane gear. Just let me preface that. This is not how it's gonna look when you start this build, but this is my wand. Marina Soul is Bis. Wrong Warp works also, but Marinas has more flat, and it's really hard to get flat damage on this build. So we are getting Marinas, which is a lot of flat necrotic spell damage. People are asking why necrotic, because isn't this an LE spell? Isn't this a lightning spell? Isn't this a fire spell? Why are we using not elemental damage? It's because spells in this game, if you get any spell damage, it just gets added to the base of the spell, and then you can scale it with generic spell damage or necrotic damage or just increase damage in general. So the spell itself has a base lightning damage, let's say like 30 or whatever, and then you are adding like 100 necrotic flat or 80 necrotic flat from this one. And then if you are scaling spell damage, it scales both of those numbers. I slammed the T7 mana spent gained as ward hybrid. This is an amazing mod. This is how you're getting your ward. See, I have like 3,000 wards just standing here. If I start casting, it just goes up. If I start casting Glaciers, I spend a lot of mana. I have 5k, 6k ward just alone casting, not even hitting anything. And then you can teleport and gain ward based on your missing mana from the teleport. So that's the wand. Chest, this is an insane chest as well. Really hard to get a good roll because the mana ranges are big. So the base is 7 to 14% increased mana, and then the implicit is 10 to 120. So I failed a lot of slams the day I was making this, but this all paid for it. This is an insane slam. Big T7 mana and then +2 Meteor. So you get 2 extra points to your Meteor, which translates to 20% more damage. The LE damage roll on the chest doesn't really matter because about 70% of your damage is necrotic, so it doesn't matter that the LE damage is low. It's also +1 lightning, fire, and cold, so it's +1 this, and this, and this. Almost a +1 all scaled chest. Amazing unstable core. Helmet, flat mana, and then teleport hybrid because it comes with mana. Static orb levels is also okay because you can get 1 point more here and then 1 point here, which translates to 12% more damage on static. But my single target is already insane, so I just got even more mana just to have a bigger mana pool because, you know, number go up, monkey happy. Amulet, Strong Mind. For the flat mana, it's 4 LP, so I slammed my old amulet into it. It's T7 mana, T5 crit multi, and then 2 resist rolls. This cold resist roll actually allows me to possibly take off some of these, but I think my resists are like pretty nice and fixed right now. But offhand, this is an insane offhand. T7 crit multi, T6 mana. Snap found this on the auction house, finished crafting it, and then we mirrored it. Giga res, kind of over lightning res, but don't need that much. Rings are Yora Star Dial. This is massive damage when you teleport. So every roll on the item gets tripled when you teleport. That's what Yora does. So every 12 seconds, you can teleport and everything on both of your Yoras will be tripled. So this Yoras is giving me 166% increased spell damage and 20 mana, so it gets tripled 60 mana and mana gain spent as ward. So I have 432% increased spell damage right now. If I teleport, I have 878 for 4 seconds because of these 2 Yoras. If you want absolute Bis, you probably will go for at least 1 red ring, maybe 2 red rings with int, but those are 20 million pros with 1 LP, and then you have to hit a 1 in 4 slam on them, so that's some pretty crazy gear. Gloves. You want an armor mid base because dots in this game are really rippy. It's pretty much almost the only thing you will die to in high corruption is damage over time stuff. This was also auction housed and then mirrored. T7 mana, T5 int. The health doesn't really matter. It's okay. And then armor and reduced bonus damage from crits. And then most importantly, the mod that you need for getting healed by the healing hands if you're playing in a group. If you're not playing in a group, you don't need this mod. Transient res boots, triple res, fizz, poison, necrotic, movement speed. This fixes your res for those 3 things. And then the most important mod for defenses is ward gained per 10 missing mana when you use a traversal skill. So I can dump my mana and then teleport and get like 2, 3, 4k ward, depending on how much mana I'm missing. That's also a huge source of ward. And then I also have CDR on it for, teleport CDR, flame ward CDR, CDR both on belt and boots. Moving on to belt, mana base, Harbinger of Stars. This is what is proccing your meteors. It rolls from 6 to 9% chance. I slammed chance to find potions and cooldown on it. Health is whatever. This could be improved with another, like 3 LPs of this are like not that uncommon, so it's pretty good. And then if you have 900 mana, this will give you 3 more potion slots, so you're at 6 potions as long as you have 900 mana. And then finally, a Grimoire, another source of flat damage. Remember, it's hard to get flat damage on this build, so we get Grimoire, and then we drink a potion every 4 seconds to get 36 flat necrotic spell damage. This is why most of our damage is necrotic, because both the wand and the Grimoire is giving us flat necrotic. Slammed spell crit on it, spell crit mana, T7 mana again, and then some resists to fix, and then we're chugging. So that's the gear. Moving on to the idols, you want mana and AoE for elemental area skills. AoE is not that important, but I mean, it's nice to have bigger AoE, bigger meteor procs, bigger coverage, and then percent armor, percent mana. And then on the shorter ones, you can get double mana. These are really expensive. These are 5 to 10 million right now, and it's week 1. I don't know how much that will go up. I have 2 of these. Actually, SSF'd one of them, bought the other one. If you're solo and you're missing crit, you can swap in armor and crit with lightning skills. It'll give you crit on your static orb, but not on your meteor or glacier. But you don't need crit on glacier, you're already crit capped. So you can run like this and then have 50% increased crit for your static orb. Just filling out with res if you need some necrotic. Remember that vitality gives you res. So vitality is poison and necrotic res. So this is 21 necrotic res and 3 poison res, I guess. And then some mana cold res, smalls, 7 mana is max draw. So those are my idols. Blessings, I just have gold. Crit multi, important. Mana, important. All res, important. Flat armor, percent armor. That's it. The rest is just like shards and drop rate and stuff. Of course, you can get XP here until you're level 100, but I'm already level 100 and max Merchant's Guild. But if I wanted to farm favor, I would probably still bless for XP, because XP scales the favor gain. What's the spell crit you should aim for? I don't have POB, so I don't know. But going to the dummy and shooting it and seeing mostly yellow numbers, you're fine. If you see 1 or 2 white numbers, you're probably fine. If you really want to min-max your crit, you need to get a Peak of the Mountain, and you drop some mana, and you get Peak of the Mountain, 2-3 LP, and slam some T7 mana on it. And you're gonna lose some mana, but you're gonna like crit cap basically with that, because that's like 270 or 290% crit. I mean, you've seen how this build functions in the last few videos, I guess. I could try opening a boss. Okay, I can't see, so he's phasing. I'm gonna mana up. He's charging. Let's try to get to next phase. Nice, we got to next phase. Oh, he's really. I need to get some mana back. Okay, that's fine. Last phase, we can mana up again. The Void hungers, and he's dead. Nice. Okay, that was my first try solo on this boss. I mean, obviously I have insane gear, but That is definitely doable. I think the build is pretty fucking solid. T7 high roll mana drop. Perfect. That's been the build video. Questions below if you have any. Shout out to Snap for the brains. Of course, I'll link his original pre-video. It's been fun. Thank you for watching. Next video. Bye.